It's just Lena.
It's your boy D.
I'm Shar. You're tuning in to Homeroom with Smooth. Class is now in session.
Yo, what's up, y'all? All right, so episode now 217, the writer strike. Oh man, so this one took me a lot more time than previous episodes. Okay, I needed to get information, I needed to get notes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm bringing you guys the best possible information and current information that you could want. So this is gonna be broken down into three segments. Okay, I'm gonna go through the top 10 things the writers want. You know what I'm saying, and the reasons why they're on the strike. Okay, these are the top 10 reasons why they're striking. Okay, then we're gonna go into the top 10 reasons why the top 10 things I would say what the producers want, what the studios want. All right, now let me just clear that the studios. All right, to say it's the producers is kind of disingenuous because some producers are writers. So the studio part, and then we're gonna also go into the aspect of AI. We're going to go into the aspect of AI as the third and final piece. So, without further ado, if you end up liking this video, please subscribe, please like, and leave a comment. You know what I'm saying? Let me know your thoughts on this. And without further ado, here we go. So, reason number one. All right, reason number one: writers feel that they are unfairly compensated for streaming and online content. All right. So they feel like when the residuals that they used to get from TV, they're no longer getting those residuals from TV. Okay, because most of these shows have now moved to streaming services. So it's cutting into their bottom line, and shows aren't being syndicated like they used to, and them getting residual dollars over time the way that they used to off of TV. The money just isn't there. The ad dollars isn't there. The subscription money isn't there. Well, let me say this: it's not that it isn't there. The studios aren't required to give them more, so they haven't. I will say that the studios have budged a little bit and said they're going to give them like a bit more compensation, but it wasn't quite what they wanted. So you know what I'm saying. So again, writers feel like they are not receiving adequate compensation for their work that is streamed and distributed online. All right, so reason number two, lack of transparency in the industry. Okay, now that transparency comes down to the data and the numbers. Nobody actually knows how well a show is actually doing, how many hours it's watched, how many hours, days, weeks, months. You know, when you get to adding up all these people watching, you know what I'm saying? Some shows have years of watch time, but they don't have that data. So therefore, they don't know exactly how good or how bad the show did. They're not getting any of that data. The streaming services are keeping it to themselves. This again, most of the grievances here are gonna come back to streaming services and how things have been done in the streaming era. They don't feel that way about TV. It's just because TV's numbers are pretty well known and they're well out there. You can Google search that. But when it comes to these numbers for streaming services, the streaming services keep those in house and they really keep them very tight to the chest and don't share them with anybody. Um, so that the writers feel there is a lack of transparency in the industry, which and transparency of data, which leads to confusion and unfairness. And a lot of writers feel cheated in this aspect. Number three, all right. So inequitable treatment for writers of color and women. So writers of color and women feel that they are not given equal opportunities and treatment in the industry. So that kind of goes to kind of like a discrimination piece. And this is what I want to say here. Okay, if you're writing a character of a particular ethnic background, I think it's impossible for you to fully tell that person's story without having somebody of that particular background there, even if they're only there to just to work on that one particular aspect. or they're just brought in on that one particular episode, or just brought in for that character alone. I think there's a disservice that is done when you bring these different aspects of society in, and you don't have someone that understands what that character is. um yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave that. Number four, okay, excessive working hours and inadequate breaks. Writers often work long hours with little to no breaks, leading to burnout and mental health issues. So a lot of writers, they're pressured to, they give them these really tight deadlines, so they can't take time off. They're having to work 12 to 16-hour days just to get this one project done. And then when they get the project done, then they'll send it back to them, and they want these edits, and they're not being compensated properly for that. And they would also like fair treatment so they can get some rest, which I don't think this is a crazy ask for a bit more lead time. I really don't feel like that's a crazy ask. Number five, insufficient health care and retirement benefits. Writers do not always receive adequate health care and retirement benefits from their employers. Okay, now this if this writer is employed by this company, then yes, you need to some 401k something. All right, they need to do that. Healthcare, that's your employee, you need to provide that. It's that simple, okay? It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, if you're a contract worker, then you're a contract worker, and it is what it is. Like there's no compensation there as far as healthcare and and retirement going, and you should know that going in. And that's why you should be paid a bit more in that scenario, and then you can kind of start saving and getting healthcare and stuff for yourself. But again, if they fix number one, I'm pretty sure number five would be less of an issue. Um, that's just my thinking. You could tell me what you guys feel about that in the comment section down below. Number six, limited job security. Many writers work on a project by project basis, which results in limited job security. Okay, so look, with the way shows work, like yeah, you worked on that show, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? If somebody else lands the job for the other show as a writer, that's how that works. Now, however, I will say this. They've changed the structure in how the writers room works. So writers aren't being compensated the same way, and they're not working on projects as long as they used to. Like it used to be, if you come in for a show, you got a good job for the next 9 to 12 months. Now they no longer have that. They're doing all the legwork up front. So you might do like you do the writing on a show. Let's just pick a random show. Let's just say you're a writer of Stranger Things, right? That's pretty popular. Everybody knows what Stranger Things is, right? So you'll write that season in the first like month or two, and you'll give them the entire season. And then in this scenario, in how things are working right now, they could fire you, right? Like once you've turned it in and all that done, they could fire you and then bring in some new writers to do the edits. Like, and these new writers have no idea what your original vision was, or what the original vision was of the group of writers that were writing this, which sounds insane. It sounds insane. Like when you really think about it, like you made something, you know, like imagine you made like a car, right? Somebody made you a car, right? It's custom car, and then you go to a different mechanic to fix the mechanical issues of said car. That doesn't make sense. It's a unique one of one car. You're better off with the guy that knew what was going on with that car when it started. You know what I'm saying? Who built it from the ground up. Like these shows are all unique vehicles. You know what I'm saying? And vehicles of money to studios. So I would assume you would want to keep the engineer around. You would want to keep the mechanic around. But they tend to not want to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's a big thing. It's a big thing that they do there. So we're now to number seven. Number seven, Pressure to produce more content in less time. Writers often face pressure to produce more content in less time, which can result in less quality work and more stress. So again, that falls back to the tight deadlines. That falls back into what are we talking about? This falls into number four. This falls back into number four, and it falls back into number yeah, I guess four and seven. Four and seven are the same. And it kind of has something to do with number six as well. But I don't really have much to elaborate there because I've already done that. Number eight, disagreements over creative control. Writers often have disagreements with studios and networks over creative control. Okay, so look, in this regard, right? Studios and networks, they know what they're asking for and what they kind of want from the story because that's what you initially pitched them. All right. Now, if you want to start, I don't know, like offing certain characters, you have to make it compelling. You have to make it compelling. You have to convince the studio that this character death is worth it in the long term for them because all they see is numbers. And if you're not able to adequately explain it from a business standpoint, then yes, they're going to push back on that because they know people are tuning in for just that character. So I get writers how they feel about it. And I also get why networks and studios don't want to give full creative control away because you could just get to doing anything. Like, for instance, let's say you have like you're doing like a Christian show, right? You're doing a Christian based show, and then you started adding in elements of like LGBTQ. Yeah, I think I got it right. LGBTQ. Like people would they would feel away. They would feel away. Like the audience would feel away. So they might push back to you and you and go, no, I don't think we're gonna add that in there. That's one of those things. Another thing for me is like, for instance, like and I've seen this complaint come up. Like people are like, oh, there wasn't enough representation in Game of Thrones. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Westeros was cold as hell. It was cold as hell in Westeros. Black people, cold, we don't tend to gravitate to that. Just gonna be honest. We don't. We don't. I'm not looking for representation there. Okay. I'm not. Every show does not need, and I'm gonna go on a slight tangent here. Every show does not need actual representation all the time. We need great, compelling characters. And if through great and compelling characters, you are able to represent a select demographic, great. But that does not supersede the need for great, grounded, and sufficient character writing. Okay? Like, you just, like, for instance, my best example of this is oh my god, I can't remember the dude's name. He was an asshole on Scandal. He was Fitz right hand man. He was his chief of staff. He was his chief of staff. His name is eluding me right now. But he ended up, like, they went seasons, right? They developed his character. And what they did was they end up revealing that he's also gay. That's why he was never married. That's why he never had anybody around because he was actually gay. And that made so much sense. Like, it added such a deeper level to his character and grounded him in such a way. Like, and it was like his first, like, well, to me it was his first like scandal where it's like, oh my god, like this is a big scandal. You know what I'm saying? That his sexuality was a thing. And it dealt with, and also dealt with the struggles of like people coming out later in life. You know what I'm saying? Coming out when you have, like, you know what I'm saying, this persona and this bravado that you've this character that you've made for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And your private life becoming public. I really liked. that, because it added a bit of nuance, it added a bit of confusion, it added a bit of gray area to an overall black and white character over time, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved that. That became a very good point. Um, when you're dealing with another character like Papa Pope, right? You know what I'm saying? Like people dealt with Olivia Pope, and you know what I'm saying. People understood that she was black, but there were certain monologues that Pope, the Papa Pope, would make that expounded on the black experience in such a way that, you know what I'm saying, and him addressing like the racial difference between him and her, and I mean between her and Fitz, and like how like that dynamic and the marriage thing or whatever, and he was really like breaking it down, and he would talk about like historical things and all that, and it was great. It was great, and it added a bit of depth there without without super harping in on the fact that she's black. Like, because Olivia Pope, whether I'm just gonna keep it a band, like whether whatever race she was, it's a great character. Papa Pope, great character. Fitz, the president, great character. His wife Millie, great character. Like all the characters that were in Scandal were absolutely great characters, and I love to see it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'd like to call great and phenomenal writing. Okay, great and phenomenal writing. Next thing. Sorry for the segue there, but I really wanted to push that point home right there. Number 9, difficulty negotiating with studios and networks. Writers may find it difficult to negotiate with studios and networks, which can lead to unfair contracts and treatment. Basically, they're feeling like all the leverage. Okay, that studios have all the leverage. Okay, that's what they feel, right? That's what they feel like. They feel like studios have all the leverage, and there's nothing being done to alleviate their concerns or make it a bit easier for them to negotiate with the studios for contracts, and they just want they want I bet I think I believe it's a better baseline contract, like better baseline fees and negotiation terms and things of that nature. That's what they want from base off base. And the next and the final thing is number 10, need for greater representation and inclusion in the writers room. There's a need for greater representation and inclusion in the writers room, as this results in more diverse and inclusive storytelling. Again, I'm going to say this like this, and this why I said that earlier, and I'm just gonna quickly say it here again. You don't need every race in the writers room. You don't need. You could have a whole team of men writers. You could have a whole team of women writers. It doesn't matter as long as the story is compelling and good. Fantastic. That's it. That's it. Because if that's your job as a creative, is to create something great. It's your job isn't necessarily to always represent all of the things that are in the world and society. Like you don't have to do that. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. Um, so that's how I feel about that. That is all. That is the top 10 things for the writers. Uh, we're gonna take a brief break, and I'll be right back.
Hey, if you're someone that craves vibes when it comes to music, like I do, then you need to check out Rose Petals. Rose Petals is a 12-track R&B album by yours truly, Fair Michelle, and it just dropped. It's available right now on all major digital outlets. I'm personally inviting you to come and vibe with me through music. Let me know what you think. Shout out to the home team, the Kosher Sound, and you already know we're supporting and watching Homeroom with Smooth. Let's go.
All right. Y'all make sure y'all go check out Farron Rochelle's album Rose Petals. Okay, y'all make sure y'all go check that out. All right, so we went through the writers top 10. Now we're gonna go through the studios top 10. All right, the studios want number one specific deadlines for project completion. Excuse me. Specific deadlines for project completion. Studios may feel like specific deadlines for writers to complete their work um, is is adequate for them to stay on schedule and meet release dates. This can be crucial aspect of negotiating a contract, as missed deadlines can lead to costly delays and other complications. Excuse me. Number two, quality standards for the content produced. Studios typically have high standards for the and quality of content they produce, and may require writers to adhere to certain guidelines and expectations in order to maintain those standards. This can include things like tone, style, and overall approach to storytelling. That's kind of like the things I was saying earlier, um, which I believe the studio has a bit of thing here, but they're also like kind of shooting themselves in the foot by not giving writers more time to create. You know, that's part of the problem. They need to give them more time to create so they can get better products, because shows used to take a lot longer to produce. And they used to do a lot more active writing the entire process of a TV show going on. You know what I'm saying? They would produce like maybe like 6, 7 episodes, then they bring in a couple more writers, and then they'd write the episodes as the show was airing. Like as the show was airing, they're writing more episodes and they're shooting, and then they finish while the show is airing. Um, let's see. Next, we have number three, adherence to specific guidelines and expectations. In addition to quality standards, studios may have specific guidelines and expectations for writers to follow throughout the creative process. This could include things like character development, plot structure, and dialogue. That's kind of like number two. Number four, consideration of budget limitations. While creativity and quality are important considerations, studios must also be mindful of budget limitations when negotiating contracts with writers. This could involve ensuring that production costs stay within a certain range and finding ways to maximize the impact of a project within the specified financial constraints. Again, I agree with them here. Like, look, if you only got $100,000, you only got $100,000. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all those wants that they had sound good and fine and dandy, but um, it's if you ain't got the money, you just ain't got the money. Number five, or if you don't want to have the money, then you know what I'm saying, you just don't want to have the money. Number five, creative control over the project. Studios seek to exert creative control over the projects that writers are working on, which can sometimes result in disagreement and conflicts. This could involve decisions about casting, editing, and other aspects of the production process. That again, we're back up there, number four and three. Uh, Compensation and payment terms. Negotiating fair compensation and payment terms is also an important consideration when working with the studios. This can include everything from salary or per project rates to royalties and back end points. Okay, so look, studios, they are getting over. Okay, they're getting over on the salary, on the per project rates and royalties and back end points. Like the streaming, all everybody doing streaming, the streaming stuff, they're getting over. Okay, they're getting over. All right. Number seven, ownership or shared ownership of intellectual property. This is something I wholeheartedly disagree with the studios. Depending on the nature of the product, studios may seek to retain ownership of the intellectual property or share ownership with the writer. This can have significant implications for future adaptations, licensing deals, and other revenue streams. I, I, at most, am okay with them unless the writer sells the intellectual rights to them. You share ownership. You share ownership. Period. That's it. Plain and simple. You share ownership. At max, you share. At max, you share. At max, you share. Now the writer could have full creative control because, like, stories like, for instance, you know what I'm saying, you got Star Wars till it was bought out by Disney. You have Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? Game of Thrones, like if he didn't like the final product or where they went, he could have pulled the can on that. He could have pulled out. But you know what I'm saying? He was okay with what they did because it wasn't affecting his bottom line and where he was going. Although I will say the way that they ended the series completely anyway, not to go off on a tangent. That is why seven is important. Okay. That is why seven is important because it messed up future uh uh income and revenue for him because they kind of ruined and tarnished the brand with how they did that. Although House of Dragon has really brought back the series. Haven't watched it. Number eight, distribution and marketing plans. Once a product is completed, studios will also need to have a plan for distributing and marketing that content to the audience. This can involve everything from traditional theatrical releases to streaming deals and social media marketing campaign. The key thing here is streaming deals. Streaming deals that they're gonna have to give. They're gonna have to give on that. They're gonna have to give on that. I'm sorry. Number nine, protection of studios' brand and reputation. I'm for this. Given the high stakes involved in producing successful content, studios may be particularly concerned with protecting their brand and reputation. This can involve taking steps to mitigate potential risks and negative publicity, as well as building and maintaining positive relationship with key stakeholders. That's making sure you're not like offending anyone in your content or disregarding toll groups. Like I get it. I get it. You have a brand to protect. You have a brand to protect. I get it. I'm that sounds good. That sounds good. Number 10, negotiating terms for any future potential for future projects and collaboration. Finally, it's important to consider the potential for future collaborations and ongoing working relationships when negotiating a contract with a studio. This could involve setting terms for future projects, negotiating non-compete clauses, and or ensuring clear communication and expectations about ongoing creative partnerships. That doesn't seem bad. There's also some other things that now that I'm through with the studios one, there's some other things. The studios like the writers want like more and this is more of like one-off things. Like they want like a minimum set of writers that you need to hire. I think that's kind of crazy. Like if three people came up with an idea and those three people are going to then get hired and write the whole show, let them three people do it. If one dude like it's like, yo, I'm that dude, I can get this done by myself. I want full creative vision for my own characters and story that I want to tell, and I can write it all by myself. Okay, let them do it. Like you setting a minimum amount of writers does not help anyone. It just can guarantee to everybody a check. And I get what they want to do with that, but to be honest, like if I'm writing or telling a story, right, or I'm producing a podcast, producing a YouTube video. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a minimum number of content creators to make my video. I think that's kind of nuts, don't you? I'm just saying, like it just sounds crazy. Like if I can do it all myself, why do I need to include somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like forcibly include somebody else. I'm not saying like you know what I'm saying. I love Shar, I love Shar, I love Frankie. You know what I'm saying? I love them. I love doing podcasts with them. But sometimes like this, if I want to do this by myself, I should be able to do that. You shouldn't have to tell me, no, you got to collaborate with me. You got to bring me in on that. No, no, I shouldn't have to do anything. I shouldn't have to, you know? That's just me on how I feel about that. Um, Now let's get into the last one. Okay, this AI subject. Okay, because this is a big point of contention. Writers don't want them using AI in like any capacity. Period. And unless someone's using AI to like do like mm, editing on something that they wrote, they want humans to be involved in the process and be writing stuff. So basically, they were gonna that writers want the ability to have AI do things like proofread, like get spelling mistakes in like, you know what I'm saying, grammatical error, like, you know what I'm saying, like maybe like you know what I'm saying, make a brief outline of the thing that they wrote in like in a different format. You know what I'm saying? They want to use it as a tool. They don't want studios, because this is what studios want to do. Studios want to be able to use AI to make a whole fucking show, a whole fucking script, okay? And then own the license of what the AI produced, and then they basically cut the writers out completely, and now they just have writers come in to like do edits to the script and make it a bit more humane. I think that's nuts. That's nuts. And then the writer credits, the writers that come in and edit, they wouldn't get the credits. They wouldn't get writer credit for that. They or the same amount of points. I'll say that. They don't, they either don't get credit at all or they don't get the same amount of points. It's either or. I don't know how that intricacy works. I did a lot of research on this, but I ain't go that deep. I couldn't. There's just, and plus it's just one video. It's just one video. I can come back to this. If y'all ask me to, I will definitely come back to this. But I fundamentally think the studio's not budging on that and saying this is what let me know how they feel and what's going to happen. They said, "Oh, we agreed to meet about that. We will have meetings about that." That's what they said. That we agree to have meetings about it. Like, no, they see the dollar signs on cutting out writers completely, or at least the vast majority of them. And I think that is a slippery slope to not having any writers at all. Um, but yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about the writer strike and what's been going on. The SAG said that they're potentially well, not SAG. I believe it's the directors. The directors, but wait, hold on. Yeah, it's not the actors. It's not the actors because their lady came out and said, "Oh, we support them, but we're gonna do our own negotiations for that." Their leader, and I was like, "Yo, that's foul. That's foul. If you stand together with them, they can y'all actually have real leverage." But it's either the producers or the directors that are having that have another guild, and they said flat out that they're gonna stand with them, just flat out. They flat out said it. So when the time comes for their negotiations, but I believe it's in a month or two, we could see productions halt completely. Like there will be nothing else being produced. Like any show that's already done, like is that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you might start to see content that was canned. You know what I'm saying? Just get a chance, get a shot, and get shot out there because they don't have anything else. Like, so you might start seeing new shows that you were never meant to see because they produced the content and they were like, nah, I don't like it, and they scrapped it. But again, you guys let me know what you guys feel. Sorry for the delay in the video, but hopefully you like it. I'm up out of here. See y'all later.